Yeah, this is all you. I'm gonna just sit here and look gorgeous.
You're so pretty.
I know.
How'd you get to be so pretty?
I'm like a daffodil with chest hair.
A daffodil, huh?
Mended light. What would my life look like if I allowed myself to feel loved and accepted? Can you imagine? Let's paint a picture.
You ready to have some fun? Let's do it.
Well, I want us and the viewers to really sit with that question. So I was reading a book, as I am wont to do, and I came across that question, and I sat with it for a little bit, and I was like, what would that feel like, right?
Yeah.
And then I started to visualize, like, what kind of things would I do?
It's a good little thought exercise.
In my life.
Mm-hmm.
And so really delve into that. Maybe not right now, this second, finish watching the video. Take some time to answer that question for yourself of what that would feel like and what would that look like and what kind of choices would you make and what kind of things would you do differently.
I can tell you what it would look like for me. I would let go of and release habits that don't serve and support me. Instead of like engaging in an epic battle royale with these habits, I would just release them because I'd say, you don't serve me and I like me.
So I would feel peace, contentment, and joy, that belonging that comes with the peace and the contentment and the joy.
To that end, I would remove harsh judgment from my life. I would make changes out of love for myself instead of self-loathing.
Yeah.
Which is way easier to change, by the way, when you love yourself than when you loathe yourself. Because when you loathe yourself, you try and change, and you kick yourself for every stumble, and then you spiral. Whereas if you love yourself, you change, and when you stumble, you're like, it's okay, buddy. I still love you. And then you keep on going.
Just keep swimming, just keep swimming, swimming, swimming.
Well, your worth and your value isn't tied to whether or not you stumbled.
Right.
Or trying to earn your worth.
Right.
Because you belong and you have value as you are.
And I would accept feedback with gratitude instead of defensiveness, right? And when I say feedback, people saying you could do this better or I need this from you, this isn't working for me. If I truly allowed myself to feel loved and accepted, then when people have feedback from me or even criticism, it would be an opportunity for growth instead of like all of this defensiveness and pushback, which I have a history of. Well, hot dang, Alicia, this sounds like a no-brainer. What's keeping us from allowing ourselves to feel loved and accepted?
So I think there's multiple things that keep us in a place of judgment. One of those being worth ties, right? And quite often, and some of our other videos talk about this. We're not going to dive too deeply into it today, but the concept of real love. And most of us haven't experienced real love. We've experienced a facade, right?
Yeah.
And we've learned that we need to do things to get love, and we need to do things to protect from losing love. Yeah. And that's not true because that's not real love.
Yeah, well, and the things we tie our worth to, it's often an outcome. And what you tie your worth to is often linked to your personality type.
Yeah, or right? The kind of guidelines.
Yeah, I mean, so as a dreamer, if I can help other people to relax and have fun and enjoy themselves and have an adventure or get laughing, then I feel like I have worth. But what happens if I tell a joke and it bombs? Or I try and cheer somebody up and they say, this is serious, be serious, stop acting like a child. There goes my worth. If I'm a healer and I'm trying to comfort somebody and they refuse to be comforted. If I'm a closer and I value accomplishment and getting things done and I just can't follow through on this one thing. Or if I'm a thinker, am I the smartest person in the room? Or am I the person who actually knows most about this subject? I tie my worth to that.
Do I have the right answers?
And do I have the right answers, right? Our little egos are so fragile when they're built on worth ties instead of self-love and acceptance.
Another thing that I feel like that keeps you from loving and accepting yourself is the feeling of you don't belong or trying to earn your belonging.
Yeah. And people will tell you that you don't belong based on their judgments and their prejudices, not on any actual objective measure of your worth. Take Tarzan, for example. Tarzan was not an ape. He had no hair on his body. He was slender instead of jacked. I mean, he was actually still pretty jacked, but he was like lithe and nubile jacked and not like yoked jacked. Anyways, the gorillas rejected him. But that was just because of their prejudices and their biases. I know I'm giving a silly example, but in the real world, we see this in our social circles. We see this in our workplace. We see this at school. These people or this person may or may not value what you have to offer. That doesn't mean that what you have to offer is not of value.
Yeah. Well, and when we push up against someone else's societal or value constructs, you'll see that. You'll see that show up.
Which is why basing your self-worth or feeling loved and accepted on the love and acceptance of others is actually a shaky foundation. Because it's unreliable. So what you're looking for is something called wise men or women. That's what Dr. Greg Baird calls them in his book, Real Love. What are wise men and women?
Wise men and women are those people that we can show ourselves to. We can be honest and truthful with. Even the not pretty parts of ourselves. We all have the not pretty parts, right? We all have the warts. The warts and the pearls were a combination of strengths and weaknesses. And life would tell us that there are certain aspects of us and who we are that is unlovable.
Yeah.
And that isn't true, right?
No.
And the wise men and women we can be honest with. We can show our true self to. And this is done in stages. And when we show ourselves, a little part of ourselves, honestly, who we are, we can be seen for who we really are. And when we are seen for who we are, we can then be accepted.
Right. And we can show more of ourselves because we show a little bit to see if this person
is safe
and is ready to love and accept us for who we are. And if they're not, it's about where they're at in their journey, not about our worth.
Yeah. When we are honest with who we are, we show ourselves, we are seen, and we are accepted. That is real love.
That's the good stuff.
That's the good stuff.
When we're trying to grow into a person who loves and accepts ourselves for who we really are, it's helpful to remember that judgment is the antithesis of growth.
Yeah.
We cannot love ourselves and judge ourselves at the same time.
There's a line from Dune, fear is the mind killer. And if I can paraphrase, I think judgment is the growth killer. Right? When we judge ourselves, we don't move forward because we just spiral into shame and self-loathing. And so the way to remove judgment from the equation is to practice self-compassion. That you don't need to achieve a certain standard or a certain goal, and then you have worth. You already have worth by virtue of existing as a human being. Every human being on the planet is a collection of strengths and weaknesses. So either everybody is worthy of love, or none of us are. And if none of us are, I mean, you could choose that. That's kind of bleak. I choose to believe that everyone is worthy of love. And if they, with their weaknesses, deserve it, so do I. And when I practice that compassion towards myself, I don't actually let myself off the hook for my negative behaviors or my hurtful behaviors. What does happen, though, is I look at that behavior and I say, I'm better than that. And so I need to make it right. I hurt somebody, I need to make it right. I let somebody down, I need to make it right. I need to learn from it and do better next time. But what I don't do anymore as much is look at those stumbles or look at those mistakes with a tremendous amount of shame and self-loathing. Because I saw through decades of behavior that shame and self-loathing fed the very behaviors that I was trying to change. The only way I was able to get free of them was to actually practice love and compassion for myself. So what would your life look like if you actually felt loved and accepted? It's a peaceful life, and it's a joyful life, and you don't need to wait for anyone else to give it to you. In fact, if you're waiting for someone else to give it to you, it's going to be a shaky foundation. It needs to come from here.
So I kind of think of this like a Venn diagram, right? We have our worth ties, we have our belonging, and we have judgment.
Yeah.
And we have the solutions to all these things, right? Like the support, the way to rewrite our story when it comes to interacting with these aspects. And there's overlap between the two, but they're not exactly the same thing.
Right, yeah. So how can you address all of those pieces of the Venn diagram?
Yeah.
Well, we've got materials for you on our membership site, including our self-compassion course, an entire course on this very subject, how to grow to love yourself, to accept yourself, and to move forward in spreading that and giving that to other people. It's a wonderful, beautiful principle, and you hear me say it, but then you get hung up on the, well, how?
How do I do it? How do I apply it? How do I rewire my brain from judgment to self-compassion.
We've got an entire course on that. We've also got a podcast about this book that you love called
Self-compassion.
And
Good Morning, I Love You.
Oh, yes, you're remembering all the books.
I passed the test.
Yeah, called Good Morning, I Love You. Some of Alicia's favorite hand-curated books. And the thing about our podcast on that membership site is even if you don't read or listen to the audiobooks that we're talking about, you still get our biggest takeaways. And that's something that we offer, a little extra zhuzh.
That's a made-up word.
What was made up?
And then we've got a course on different personality types, which if you haven't noticed, we are radically different people.
In every possible way.
In literally every possible way. And we have learned so much from one another about how to meet the needs of someone who's different from you, about how to recognize and express your own needs, how to resolve conflict and give love and work together with people of all shapes and sizes of all different personalities.
And when you have clarity about what your needs are and why you're kind of wired the way you are, that understanding leads to so much self-acceptance.
Yes.
Right? And then it's not about, hey, what's wrong with me? Why do I do this? It's like, oh, I have this need. And how can I meet that need in a healthy, supportive way? And I have to understand my own needs before I can clearly communicate them to my partner or my friend or my spouse and say, hey, this is what I need out of life, and this is why.
Yeah. And then the delicious whipped cream on top is we do a monthly live Q&A with our members where we answer right there and then their greatest life challenges. We address those things.
And we get some one-on-one interaction, which I really love, because as much fun as it is to talk to you here on YouTube, I really love it when we can have a two-way conversation.
When we can talk with you. Yeah. All of that is available for you on our membership site. And guess what? We're going to let you try it for just $1.
I got $1.
Value menus at fast food places don't even cost $1 now. They've all been adjusted for inflation. But we're like this little oasis where inflation never happened and $1 is still good. So click on the link below, try our membership site for just $1. And if you're not doing that,
what are you doing?
What are you doing? All right, just go. We love you all. Link is below. Until next time.
Keep shining. We need your light.
Yeah, we do.